So, you know how we told you we were done? Until it came back? We were so wrong.
No, it didn't even leave. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Let's go build something cool. We're gonna lose the shop.
Yes, we may lose the shop.
If we don't get this done, we're gonna lose the shop. It's a roadkill thing.
Yeah, I know. Roadkill.
Steve doesn't watch Roadkill. Y'all get in the comments and tell Steve how wrong he is because he doesn't have every
Today
episode of
on
Roadkill
Kill
memorized.
Cody Garage.
Kill Cody Garage?
No.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, there's no killing Cody. Just killing time.
Anyways, here we are. It's Saturday afternoon. This car is supposed to be at a thing tomorrow. It's going to be great. And there's a reason why we're cutting it this close. Let's talk about
Because Cody
it.
doesn't ever finish anything on time. No.
Here, Steve, you record. You record. Let's get Steve's honest reaction.
No. Ooh, can't be too honest. No, Cody is, here's the thing.
What had happened
What had happened is we are not currently a television show. Nobody has picked us up and is paying us hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Therefore, we're not supposed to put ourselves in a situation to where we're always beating up the deadline. And however, we're still always beating up the deadline. So, Cody, tell us about the situation.
Well, Steve, as you know, if there's not a deadline, nothing will ever actually happen. This is just the way it is in car building. It's just how it works. That doesn't make it okay. It's just how it is. All right, so enough banter. So here's the thing. We've got the front end in, and it's roughly eyeball aligned. I think I've already cut in some beauties. We've got some brake hoses ran. The brakes have been bled. Everything is tight. Everything is good to go. The deal is these new fancy Willwood hubs. You have two choices of bolt pattern. This is GM 5x4 3/4. This is Mopar big bolt pattern, which is 5x4.5, which is also the same as Mustangs, like a lot of Mustangs. 5-on-1 14.3, 5-on 4.5.
No, 5-on-5 is Chevy. Never mind.
5-on-5 is Chevy and big body like Impalas
and the original 5-lug when they switched to 5-lug on Mustangs from 4-lug on the Fox
5-on 4.5 still. Yep. Ranger, Explorer, Mustang, Crown Vic, 5-on-1 14.3. Have been for a very long time. Anyway, so you guys can tell us we're wrong on something, I'm sure. Anyways, the point is this car already had big bolt pattern 73 and up disc brake setup in it. So when I started putting everything together, they don't make anything on 5-on-4 except for like Honda stuff or whatever. And so you can't get what you want. And we've got a certain wheel that we want to run. The problem is I had to measure for that wheel, so I got a tool, of course, because that's what I do is I have to buy tools. So I got the front and I kind of mocked it up and I kind of had an idea what I was doing. Walking past you one more time. Here we go. This is what was on it. Bald boy, yada yadas. And then this is a mock-up tool from Speedway Motors. They don't do it in 5-on-4 because nobody uses 5-on-4 for real. They just put dog dish steelies on it. And so there's a spacer in there, and I'll get to that in a second. But I cut the notch out so I could mock it up for the front and the rear. And that worked. So my thought was, okay, well, I should be able to just buy axles and drums that'll convert us from 5-on-4 to 5-on-4.5. Have you guys heard that number enough yet? Probably not. Anyways, so I went to our local Summit and I grabbed the one and only set that they had in all of their locations of Yukon axles in order to replace it. We had a Valiant in here recently. We've already had an 8 3/4 apart. There's a side load adjustment. Mopar nerds, you'll know this. Anyways, the point is, I bought these. These are cut to length because they fit A bodies, B bodies, M body, I don't know, something. Anyway, they fit a bunch of Mopar stuff and you measure them and then you cut them to length. So we pulled the axles out. We're going to make sure they're right. They're 30 spline, yada, yada, all that jazz. Got all that figured out. I go to order drums. Here's the problem. Nobody supports this drum brake package. These are 10 by 1 3/4 or 10 by 2. Yukon builds these axles to the either 10 or 11 by 2.5 drum brakes that go from 73 to like 1990 something. 91, 89, something like that. on Mopar drum brake stuff. So all your D100s, your Chrysler Imperials, all that crap back in the 80s had this 10 or 11 inch drum by 2.5. Well, we're in a time crunch because we are, and I can't get the backing plates and all the associated hardware, and there are some internal parts that you cannot get that are set up for that, like easily. You got to like find them on eBay and on the forums and whatnot. So what do? We call our homeboys at Lead Brakes, and we make sure that they are set up with a rear disc setup that will work for what we're doing. Uses an Eldorado style caliper with the parking brake, factory parking brake attaches to it. I feel like I got everything under control.
And then.
No and then.
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 And then
Dum ass. So here's what have happened. I call Yukon and I go, what's the brake offset setup and what's the bearing setup on these new axles? And they use what's called the green bearing, which is the new sealed-ish double taper setup that presses in and locks in. They don't use the side with the adjuster to set the end gap for the block in the middle with the positive traction and all the things. I've had to learn a lot of Mopar nerd stuff. So you guys and your parts interchangeability or lack thereof, oh, there's a reason I drive Chevys most of the time. So anyways, not a problem. I called Justin Corndog Curnett, a.k.a. the real General Lee, and I was like, Justin, what do I got to get? And he's like, maybe you can find somebody that's got an axle you can rub all the stuff off in the next 3 days. There's not one on Marketplace or Craigslist, and I couldn't get a hold of one. So what did I do? I bought $600 something worth of axles and $700 worth of rear brake conversion stuff, disc brake conversion. So I call Yukon and I'm like, hey, what's the brake offset? Because I got to know in order to order my wheels in time, because we've only got a couple of days till we get it done. This was earlier in the week. We've only got a couple of days to get it done. What can I do with the brake package? They go, oh, it's set up for that big drum brake package, the one we talked about a second ago. Yeah, rewind if you need to go back over that. Anyway, so what had happened was this is set up with a 1.75, 1.875, something like that brake offset, which is the distance from the bearing flange to where the rotor or drum would sit. These axles have a bearing that seats them at 2.5 inches. It also works with our lead brake system. I called Josh at Lead. I'm pretty sure it's Josh. Anyways, I've talked to him a couple of times about stuff in the past. Nice people up there at Leeds. What happens with that is it basically makes our axle 1.5 inches wider. It's going to add 3/4 of an inch on both sides. Well, that changes the back spacing on our wheels, because I was planning on running a 17 by 8 with a 4.5 inch backspace, which would have put it dead center as far as zero offset backspace. We can talk about that in another video if you need info, no problem. Look up the ambulance video where we had custom dualies made. That'll tell you all about it. So I just happened to also be at Summit picking this stuff, and I walk over in the scratch and dent demo section where I generally always find at least one thing that'll work for the stuff that we're doing, and I found this.
Are y'all keeping up with this yet?
Yep. So I found these. Score. Because not only have we just thrown ourselves out of the equation on the really badass welds that we want to run, this is the same backspace. It's a 15, and I was like, okay, cool. We'll build our customer a drag pack that we can then put on the Mach or our SN project car, because now I have a 351 to put in it and a nitrous kit and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, hey, we can use these on something else if he doesn't want to have a drag pack alternative. So I scored these for $60 a piece.
Wow.
And they've not been mounted, and they've not had tires on them. So I was like, okay, and it's a matching pair. I was like, all right, that's cool. If we want 15 by 8s in the rear to throw drag radials on, well, what do we got to have for a drag pack in the front? The matching skinny boys, 4.5s. I got one open right here. Same deal, same wheel, matches. Little skinny guy, real pretty, same concept. Hey, we could throw these on the Mach and take it to the drag strip and just, make some content for you guys. as a backup plan once we order our awesome welds. Here's where the complication comes in. Because around this same time was when I started making phone calls about the axle and the brake offset. So that's where all that complication came in with the axle offset. And guess what? It throws my offset off. And I was on the way back from Summit from buying said brakes, axles, and wheels in order to be able to make this happen on this car in time, because we have a deadline to meet. And that's what we do here, is make things happen. So the other issue was, if I don't have time to get the axle swapped out, it is real common for guys to put the 5-on-4 to 5-on-4.5 adapters on, which we've got. I went ahead and bought those too while I was there. So this is the one adapter. It's made by Transdapt, and it is a 5-on-4 to 5-on-4.5 adapter. On the back side, there was a bunch of casting flash, so I hit that with a 100 grit sanding disc just to knock the little stuff down. And then I also buffed down both sides of the drum and the brake flange. So that way, because I'd put it on here and the whole thing would rock. Still has a little bit of rock, but oh, that's that counterweight. That's part of the problem. Okay, well, I don't want to mess with that, so we'll just see how that interferes. It's that counterweight. So I'll have to shave a little bit off of the back of this to make that problem for the bouncing weight. Okay, anyways, so there was casting flash. I knocked that down. It's nice and slick. Barely touched it. No big deal. Alrighty, so we're gonna mock this wheel up with our 15x8 because it has the same offset as our 17s that we were planning on buying. All right, so that's where that's gonna sit. And if you'll notice, it's gonna crash right into the fender because we're running a 1-inch spacer. And we could convert to disc brakes, but by the time the disc brake conversion is done, as we touched on earlier, it's gonna eat up this 1-inch thick space already, and it's not gonna jive. So what did I have to do? Well, that was Thursday. Today's Saturday. So Friday, I went back to Summit and paid for another set with the deeper offset, which is nice because they're actually just about the same as the welds that are the other option. So now we're gonna try this. And I've tested it, and it's supposed to work, but we'll see. We're probably still gonna have to roll this fender lip a little bit. Oh. So yeah, we'll lean on that just a little bit. But the moral of the story is, the client, we have a promise time that we had to meet for the client, and we can use these on something else, not a problem. And now we have a wheel that fits. So at this point, I got a clearance for that balancing weight so that this sits flush and we don't get funky vibration. I got to buff down the back of the other adapter. The 17's in the front. I was worried because with our mock-up tool, we were really close to rubbing the upper ball joint, and we had to run this that comes with the Willwoods. So I actually bought 3 different sizes of spacer, and I bought pairs. So a pair of 1/8, a pair of 1/4, and a pair of 1/2. But I've already mocked up the other side, but we're good. So, and I've got like 2 fingers of clearance on the upper ball joint, and this comes in like 5/8. We've already tested this to make sure that it's going to clear at ride height because of the camber change and because of the swing. Will actually come in like 5/8 of an inch tighter. So now we've got a set of rollers for the car for the weekend. 14 minutes later, here's where we're at.
So, 14 minutes. I know you can't see me, but I'm right here. 14 minutes of Cody talking, and I didn't argue with him much at all. That's almost a new record. Cody's finishing cleaning up the other side. We've already mounted the front tires. I'll show you that in just a second. We finished cleaning up the Cody finished cleaning up the spacers, blue Loctite, and the correct short lug nuts to make sure we have clearance and make sure that there's nothing protruding, so we still have a flat surface to mate the tire to. That's on now, so rear tires are starting to go on. You know, you watch the movies and they've got their camera people sitting on those tracks and stuff. Cody just puts it on the floor jack and rolls the floor jack around. Not going to say it's a terrible idea. You know, Cody is nothing but a man of many ideas, some good and some bad. All right, so front wheels mounted up and torqued. You can see because of the wheel wood cap, the wheel cap is not deep enough to cover that, so we'll use the wheel woods up front. Now with the spacer, we've got these mounted up, just barely 2 fingers right there. Still need to probably roll those fenders a little bit just to provide safety clearance, but we're about to take the front down. So let's let Cody do the honors and see what this looks like. Go ahead. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, plenty of clearance there.
Plenty of clearance.
Great looking wheel on a great looking car.
Yeah, that's it's got potential. Oh yeah, left front needs to come down. I don't know. That's finger and a half. Besides one finger. Do we like a little rake, or do we want it flattered? So we can't do anything with the rear right now, but we can always adjust the front again later. What do you guys think? Jump in the comments. I mean, you know you're going to see it here in a second, but what do you think?
Well, again, with you in the car, the front left is going to change a little bit. You are the driver.
Yeah.
You add a 200-pound person in the front, it's going to change a little bit. I feel like the front right needs to come down a hair.
Yeah.
Because especially once you add the driver, it looks like...
We'll see what it does. See if it cross weights.
It's stiff enough. I didn't see a change, actually.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, we do have to adjust one way or the other, but I think you come down on the right side. All right, we are back later this afternoon, a little bit after doing many things and grabbing a late lunch. It is hot, we are sweaty, but we've got her all situated for the most part. We have adjusted the ride height. We are happy with that at this point. We are topping off a few fluids at the moment just to make sure. One last step is to drive it across the way and go get it aligned. And once the alignment is on it, we will be taking it and delivering it to the owner. I don't know.
We did a quickie alignment.
Cody, hold on. Make sure we can hear you.
Yeah. Say.
Cody, what do you think?
Pardon me. Excuse me while I mic up here. Cody Crafted here, reporting live in Mopar land. All right, no, we did a quickie alignment on it just to make sure it was close enough. I mean, it obviously wasn't an issue to drive it around the parking lot, but we got it close so when we get it over there on the machine, we can be that much more efficient. Also, we've already got our tools set out, so we know what tools we need. We don't have to go digging around for junk. And throw a little, a couple cups of water in there, throw the air cleaner back on it.
So this car is coming back, so this isn't going to be the end of what you're seeing. It's just the end of its stay with us at the moment. Cody, quick recap on everything you did to it to this point.
All right, top to bottom. We did some cleanup in the carburetor, a little tuning. We reset the timing, topped up all the fluids, checked everything over, and then we got all the suspension stuff done. We replaced the whole front cross member with a QA1 kit with coilovers. We're set at about 2 inches of drop right now. And so for the time being, it's a Mustang 2 style front end at this point. Willwood, or QA1 spindles, Willwood 12-inch or so brake setup with Dynalite 4-piston calipers. The wheels are 17x7 with a 0 offset in the front, 225, 45, 17. The rears, with a set of adapters from 5-on-4 to 5-on-4.5, are 245, 45, 17s on 17x8 with a 550 backspace. So like a positive 35, 36, whatever it is. But it's a 4-inch backspace in the front, 7-inch wide wheel, 8-inch backspace in the rear, 8-inch wide wheel in the rear, 5.5-inch backspace with a 1-inch spacer. So a 4.5 would work if you had the brakes, but we talked about the brakes. So it's going to come back for that. We're also planning on inboarding the rear leafs, cutting those into the chassis rails, fixing a couple of holes in the floor, narrowing the spring perches in the rear. We'll do the QA1 shocks in the rear, the disc conversion, and then the big Willwood master cylinder the next time we see it, along with a rear sway bar. We'll fine tune the ride height, and we're going to order up a custom set of, or a semi-custom set of welds, the Laguna, the 5-spoke with the black face and the polished lip. That's what's going on here.
Sweet.
Also, we've got a hood coming, so that's going to have to get painted or installed and then painted. Probably going to black the hood, so kind of going that ratty muscle car mishmash, because the car doesn't really have any particular heritage. And then the other thing that's happening is you're going to see the Kibby Lee. That's right, Robert Kibby from the Muscle Car Place. His General Lee is coming back for its second visit to Cody Crafted. We did EFI on it last time, but this time we're pulling out the Silversport A41, and it's getting a TKX 5-speed. So if you stuck into the video this long, you get a little sneak preview. Kibby Lee is getting a TKX. It's coming here. It's probably going to get a drift brake because then you can slide like Bo Duke. And the A41 that's in it is going into this car. So this car will have overdrive, and we're going to a console shift and a set of buckets and probably a nicer steering column. Like, this car's not done. It will be back, and it will continue to rip. And if I have any say in it, we might wind up putting a bottle on it. So, you know, I'm just saying, it needs to haul ass.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all she wrote. No, that is definitely not all she wrote.
And on that bombshell, good night.
Some say he is illegal in 17 US states, and he blinks this way.
Some say he eats Cheerios with a Bowie knife. No EFI on this one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In order to control the Silversport A41, we're putting a Dominator with a throttle body, Holley Dominator ECU, with transmission control for the Silversport A41 that's going in it. And in all reality, the holes in the floor will get patched. It's going to get rewired. It'll be here most of the winter. It's got a lot. It's got a lot going for it.
I'm telling you, y'all just don't know. He couldn't do it without me. No, he totally could. But you know, I like to say that. It makes me feel important. Guys, that actually felt great. Oh, and I'm sure that was going to look really weird on camera though, because I'm getting splashed in the face, and I'm like, oh my God, Cody, I didn't know you felt that way about me.
It makes me feel important. Splooge.
All right, that's going on the. That'll go on the gag reels that we're putting together. Okay.
Whoa, did you say gag?
Oh my Lord, this is going off the tracks really quickly. Guys, we totally appreciate you guys out there. We couldn't do it without you guys watching. We would beg you, please watch more. I say beg, ask you to please watch more.
Like, share, subscribe. Check out the merch store below. Don't forget, new episodes most weekly.
Yes, as long as I have content, we are trying to post weekly. Because of the 3 to 4 week break we took, I'm having to make sure we still have enough footage. But we're going to make it happen, even if you just get us being stupid on Saturdays, kind of like today. This is what you get, guys. Cody, any final words of wisdom for our fans out there?
Are you asking me for Grand Thumb dad advice? Is that what you're doing?
sure.
All right. How you do one thing is how you do anything. That's all I got.
You heard it here first, people. Like, life-changing stuff. Like, subscribe, comment down below. The comments really drive the algorithm. Please drop a comment. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us what you would do to this thing if it was your car. And you know what, Cody? We'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one. Bye.
12 seconds later.
43, baby, that's me.
So, you know how we told you we were done? Until it came back? We were so wrong.
No, it didn't even leave. We tried to do a burnout. These are my tires, by the way. These are the loaners, remember? Yeah. So I tried to do a burnout. And then the freaking Prindle was flopping around all over the place, and the shifter was trying to go into reverse. And so, and then I got to looking at it, and I was like, well, the freaking tack should at least work. And the wiring was all falling out with this.
Look at this mess.
Melted electrical tape that, no. So it's an hour and a half later, and we're still here. And
but we got this. So this is why always test drive, always check things multiple times, always make sure it's right before you give it back to somebody else, or at least as right as it can be. More right than it was when it first came to you is a good rule of thumb.
yeah, even if we spent 20 minutes cleaning up this wiring, at least that way, it's like, you know, it's like when you go on a hike, you pick up at least one piece of trash that somebody else left. It's like that. For us, we fix one piece of wiring that some other asshole did.
That's good advice, people. All right, we're cleaning up the trail right now. We are making the walking trail better for the next person, in this case, the owner of the car. So just remember, always check, and it doesn't mean it's not always done when you first think it's done. So, all right, we'll see you on the next one.